in the Super Bowl era, who has thrown a touchdown? 6% of your passes. Think about what that means. So you throw 33 passes in a game, 2 is a touchdown on average every game, right? 2 and 33 is the same as 6 out of 100. So he throws a touchdown at a higher percentage of times than anyone in the Super Bowl era besides Rodgers and Mahomes and Peyton Manning for this stretch, but Peyton Manning's career is a little bit lower. So he throws touchdowns at a historic rate. He avoids interceptions at a historic rate. You see it right here. You got Rodgers, who avoids interceptions by going 3 and out and taking sacks.
This chart shows what we were talking about earlier on the phone a few hours ago.
What, about Aaron Rodgers?
If you look at the left compared to the right is how Aaron Rodgers wins MVPs. The left is why he doesn't win Super Bowls. Because if you look at the win percentage, Russell Wilson aside, this is what I started laughing at. Russell Wilson and Drew Brees aside, not to mention the Saints were a little funny, but look at the win percentages of all the rest between Brady, Rodgers, and Manning, right? 78%, 76%, 79%, even if you look at Mahomes. That 70 to 79%, that 9% and everything between is found in his game-winning drives. If he drives the ball down the field and wins those games, he gets those touchdowns, his win percentage goes up. But you know what might happen? His touchdown to interception ratio goes down, and that extra win doesn't win him the MVP because the wins are so close between all these quarterbacks. What gets him the win or the MVP is the touchdown to interception ratio to go with the other yards. So like all you need to do is be within 1 to 2 games of the other players. But literally this shows the middle column, right? The middle right column that says passing. That's why he wins the MVP. This winning column is why he doesn't win Super Bowls.
That's fair. You got to take risks. And before I move on to so again, you see here, Russ throws Mahomes too. Russ and Mahomes throw touchdowns and do not throw interceptions at historic rates. But Russ's superpower here is look at the yards rushing. He's 4th all time already. 4690 rushing, and he's got some receiving in there too. All right. So he's an all-time great thrower and runner. This is through 10 years. This is undisputed facts before we get into all the nuances of the things that are against him. Now look at your first 10 years only, okay? Regular season wins and total regular season touchdowns, all right? So you got Peyton beats him 105, 104 in wins. Russ wins 113, 112 in wins, including playoffs, and then 322 to 312 total touchdowns. First 10 years of a career. Now, I'm sure Mahomes might top
one
that.
has Marvin Harrison, Reggie Wayne, and Dallas Clark.
And a dome.
And Edgerrin James and Marshall Faulk.
And a dome. And didn't play in the NFC West. And didn't have Pete Carroll. But he played in the earlier era. So he also had 50 more turnovers. But I'm trying to be diplomatic here. So let's go on to over here. All right. Now, this is good. Total yards. All right. So we're looking at total yards, total touchdowns, because at the end of the day, all these guys have had kneel downs, which screw up their stats. I hated the end of games where he just kneels down 3 times. Like, this is going to hurt this chart here. But, Rodgers was probably like, hey, put the sub in. We love you, Rodgers. Anyways.
It's like, hand it off. If you fumble, I'll kill you.
Yeah. Killing my chart on all sports debate. So look at it here. This is an average year. I mean, so you look at it. What's the difference between Wilson and Brady, Rodgers, Brees, Manning? A little bit less volume. Rodgers is, injuries impact him there. But with the other guys, it's a few hundred yards a year.
And all are between 30 and 40 touchdowns.
Yeah, and he throws 32. And they throw 35, 36, 30. And they get a total of, and the picks are about the same. And Russ doesn't fumble the ball. 25 fumbles in 10 years is pretty good. Peyton never fumbled, by the way. Incredible how he never really fumbled. But
he never got hit. He falls.
Yeah, well, that's a talent, man. Because, Brees and Favre and some of these other guys, they lost more. Now, something I want to mention real quick. In my humble opinion, Pete Carroll cost Russell Wilson 8 touchdowns a year. I think he cost him 1 touchdown every 2 games.
It's funny you say that. Because when I said they're all between 30 and 40 touchdowns, that's as simple as that. Just depends on what team you play on, whether you get 30 or 40 once you're past 30. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you're going to go to 40 if you have the receivers to do it. If you have the running back to stay balanced and avoid injuries and not be so one dimensional, you're going to hang out at around 35 plus or minus. That's just how it goes. The best quarterbacks hang around 35 if you're balanced. You're up closer to 40 if you're not balanced. That's just what it is.
And that's what Mahomes has. He's right now 4 years in. He's got 40 per year. So I think that if Pete Carroll didn't take his foot off the gas in very obvious games where it's like, hey, like you're up big, just go. You're up big, just go. Just keep going. That costs them like, once a month, that's costing them like 2 touchdowns. And then another time where it's like you got conservative against the wrong team, you could have had another one. It's like 2, 3 per. I'm being conservative, I think.
Yeah. And, you got to remember, the defense got worse every year after the Super Bowl for the most part. Not better. Russ got better, but you had a coach telling the media and all of us and even his own team, the defense is what's carrying us. Defense and run game, defense and run game. And then you start building strategies around a personnel that's not conducive to your strategy.
Yeah. So then here I'm taking shots at people. So he had to deal with Pete Carroll, the O-line, and then he had some sacks and 3 and outs to offset his picks. He's a lot of Rodgers in him too. All right. Wilson last year, last couple of years, last year and a half had a lot of Aaron Rodgers in him. All right. He didn't want to make mistakes. A lot of that could have been Pete Carroll though. All right. Brady, I got nothing bad to say. He's won 4 rings in I used his last 10 years.
Right.
Rodgers, we talked about it. I think he's awesome in some ways, and I think he's incredible to watch, but he has his flaws as a human. And then he has the sacks and 3 and outs. Brees.
Rodgers is the best quarterback in a non-salary cap league, and you get to pick any players you want in fantasy land.
Yeah. Yeah. And dome for Brees. All right, Brees. I don't mean any disrespect to either of these guys, but Steve Nash is one of my favorite players to watch. He's one of the best 10-point guards of all time. Right. But he was enhanced when he went to Mike D'Antoni and played in the 7 seconds or left Suns. Drew Brees was not putting up. I know it was a different era than right now, but he was not that great with the Chargers. He was not Brady Manning level. Then he goes to Sean Payton in a dome with weak defenses. And by the way, after his Super Bowl win, which he shouldn't have won because Brett Favre and the Vikings should have won that. All right. He got screwed later on in his career. I get it. But 4 7-win seasons in the next 5. And I had to sit here and listen to how Drew Brees was way better than Russell Wilson while Wilson was winning and making Super Bowls. Because, when the shoe's on the other foot, volume stats only matter. Well, guess what, Drew? I don't think Russell Wilson. Can you imagine Russell Wilson winning 7 games in 2014 to 2013 to 2015 with Sean Payton in a dome? Are you kidding me, bro? He put up 45 touchdowns a year.